James, trust me, we need to spend some more money. And he's like, you sure? I was like, 100%. Having a very honest conversation about the fact that we're most likely not going to survive this and we're going to go bankrupt. And so we were like, well, what should we do for the last ever event? And so we flew in DJ Jazzy Jeff from Philadelphia. Like, sometimes we had like 5,000 people watching us do this live stream, and we're like,
what were you doing in the live stream?
Just like playing games and like talking to everyone in the comments and just like giving away vacuums and giving away like, when we were opening the restaurant, there was a big worry that people just thought it was going to be a butter restaurant. So the plan was a ton of butter at D2C, and then we were going to go to retailers and say, look, with 2 of us, we just sold a ton of butter online. Do you want to stock us?
Toby, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Thanks so much for having me.
Mate, absolute pleasure. You brought the sunshine with you today.
Yeah, although I was in Manchester yesterday and it was sunshine in Manchester.
And raining
where the motherland is, and it was raining down here, so nice to have it down here. And I feel like we've got a good week ahead of us.
We do, mate, we do. Well, I'm excited about today because you've got, I'm going to say a busy CV. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but you've got a very busy CV and are now doing some pretty exciting things across the board, brand side, restaurant side, etc., which I want to ask you a lot about. But as you mentioned, the motherland, want to start there. Yeah. Growing up, did you know what you wanted to do? Were you kind of working out younger days? What did that part of your life look like?
Yeah, so I was actually brought up in Bolton, so North Manchester, from a very entrepreneurial family. And so for me, always wanted to do something for myself. I had this kind of idea that when I was kind of in my early teens that I was going to be retired by the time I was 30, and I'll have just kind of grafted from 18 to 30 to try and kind of make my fortune.
If only, mate, if only.
Well, exactly, yeah. I think I got to 24 and I was on like 20 grand a year and think to myself, there's 6 years left here. And I don't think that the millions are coming anytime soon. But yeah, always knew it. And I even kind of had a lots of, like, that entrepreneurial had a very, very like raw understanding of like the entrepreneurial life, because my dad was kind of a bit of a maverick, had very good times, had very bad times from a financial perspective. So kind of even seeing the madness of entrepreneurial life still got me the itch of like, I really want to be part of this.
Yeah. Do you got brothers and sisters as well?
Yeah, I've got 2 brothers who both work for themselves. They've got a business up north. So all of us, in particular my middle brother, is, well, he, by his own admission, is unmanageable. And so he has been an entrepreneur from like pretty much day one, outside of uni. Kind of did a little stint within media agencies, but I don't think it worked out particularly well with one of his businesses. He sold it. And then has been kind of, both of them work together. They've got an advertising agency in Manchester, and with a couple of other bits. But yeah, all of us work for ourselves, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. What was it that you saw in like your dad's experience, I guess, is that drew you to it? Was it just the idea of kind of freedom? Because I think that's a lot of people chase when they're younger, right? You want to make a lot of money, but also you don't want to be sort of golden handcuffed.
I think freedom, I think the kind of the buzz about it, yeah, of like when a deal goes really well, and then also like even like when you lose. I mean, B&Q is my dad's biggest client in like 2000. So my dad
B&Q,
my dad sold bathrooms and kitchens, and so all the bathroom. In fact, to B&Q, I think it was just bathrooms, but all the bathrooms of B&Q in my dad's business.
Wow.
And B&Q just basically decided one day, and they only had a 30-day notice period, that they were
on the contract,
and that they were going to do it themselves. And so it was like 65% of my dad's business, and within a 30-day period, my dad was holding all the stock and everything. So
how old were you at this point?
I think I was 10. I think this was 2000, if I remember. It's around, yeah, maybe 2000. Or in fact, actually, I think a bit later, maybe 2002, something like that.
But do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember the conversation. Like, remember us like sitting down as 3 brothers, mum, dad, and having a very honest conversation about the fact that we're most likely not going to survive this and we're going to go bankrupt, and we're going to have to think about, like, we're going to have to sell the house, we're going to have to do all of this, and that was actually, we had that conversation in my childhood like maybe 3 or 4 times in all different separate moments, but somehow he kind of like magicked himself out of it every time, like and by like the real skin of his teeth. And it's funny that now I feel that now I am kind of working for myself and understand. I feel like I've got the connection more to my dad than maybe I had previously. My dad's not with us anymore, but
sorry,
it's one of those, is that I think that now I think about what he was actually going through so much more now, being in an entrepreneurial kind of situation. And so I think that I've always chased what he was wanting. Well, sorry, chase what he was going through. And so it was an inevitability that I was going to do something at some point. And I've kind of dipped my toe in a little bit here and there. I've tried to do some things. But I'd actually say the butter is the first time where I've properly like gone, right, I'm all in now. The other ones I've always kind of done on the side. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into the butter for sure. But just going back there slightly, brothers, are you the youngest, oldest, middle?
Youngest.
Yeah. So what's that dynamic like with having... Obviously, you've had your dad sort of lead the charge a little bit. I'm sure learning from mistakes and having that exposure, and then the other 2 brothers as well. At the back must be quite a nice position.
Yeah, I think it is lovely, everyone being in the same situation. We can have relatable conversations, which is really nice to know, for them to understand kind of similar thing what you're going through when stuff isn't going particularly well, and you can talk to them about it, because it really weighs on your shoulders a lot more than, say, it would be when you're kind of working for like another business, because essentially you're getting your salary, you get it every month, where when you're working for yourself, you're thinking about like other people getting paid and yourself, obviously, and then the fact of having wife, kids and everything. So there's lots of, we can relate in lots of ways when it comes to a business perspective, but we are in very, very different like areas. So there's an element from a management perspective of people and things like that we talk about a lot, but like those guys have a very, very streamlined business where they have maximum 10 clients, they have maximum 10 members of staff, they have like 100% retention rate. They're like, it's just a very seamless, very like, it just works very well for them, exactly what they want, and then they have side businesses off it as well. But yeah, it's a nice dynamic, and I am the youngest, but I feel that sometimes I'm the oldest, sometimes the youngest. My eldest is sometimes the youngest, and my middle brother just always stays in the middle.
Well, that's quite common though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's always the way of the middle brother, just sort of, or the middle sibling.
He's like the advisor for us all, so it's like me. He is my best mate, and he's my eldest brother's best mate, and then me and my eldest brother get on get on well, but the middle one is like our 2 closest friends. So he was my best man at the wedding, at my wedding, and he was my eldest brother's best man at the wedding.
But then the other brother wasn't.
Yeah, but we were like groomsmen. But it's very like it's a very open thing that like he is just best friends with us both.
That's quite nice.
Which is lovely, but it's funny because my eldest brother sometimes like he rises to some things, and I'm trying to be like the sensible one, and therefore he then gets the youngest, and then it kind of flip flop.
It's funny, you're all over 30, but you've still got the brotherly bond.
Yeah, well, my eldest is nearly 40, which is like, he's getting on.
Yeah. Do you think there's one thing that obviously, sorry to hear your dad's no longer here, but was there one big lesson that he kind of put into you guys early stages? Was there something that you really took away? And particularly, I guess, in building things and creating stuff. Yeah,
completely about work ethic. Really? It was all about hard work. Like, his least favorite thing in the world is crypto. Like, genuinely. I remember about 8 years ago, we were on holiday, me and my wife, and I think she was maybe not my wife then, but we were on holiday somewhere, and we met some friends who lived there, where we were, and they were talking to us about crypto. This is like in the early days of Ethereum. I mean, I know, by the way, nothing about crypto.
What's that we do?
No, but this is like this is the kind of like all I knew was this thing called Ethereum, this thing called a Bitcoin, and these guys were like, you need to buy into Ethereum. And so we came back from this dinner, and my dad picked us up. My dad was teetotal. Picked us, me and my wife, up for dinner at midnight, and me and my wife were like, we're going to buy into Ethereum. And he was like, roasted us. Like, that shit is not, like, if you want to do well in life, work hard, good work ethic. Money just doesn't grow on trees. You've got to really work for it. And he also had his ideation was twofold. One is that he felt that quick money is very, very rare, and you'll have massive ups and massive downs, and it's not worth going into that game. But the second one is that if you work really, really hard for what you've got, you'll appreciate it so much more, and you'll most likely look after it a lot more. So, for instance, if you make, I don't know, £1 million, you'll really nurture that £1 million. Where if you make £1 million playing blackjack or on crypto, you have less respect for that. Or in most senses,
no, it's so true. Yeah.
Less respect for that money. So, instilled in like all three of us that really about work ethic. And my dad's one of 3 boys as well. We don't have any on his side. Doesn't have any. There's no other kids, but both those uncles as well, like absolute grafters.
Really?
Like, so like as a team, we're judged. We're teaming ourselves, and like if you just messing around and that's it, it's like no, you kind of need a bit of a kick up the arse. Like we all like to work hard.
Yeah. And you started working hard pretty early because you started your first business at uni.
Yeah. Started first. Uni just wasn't for me at all.
Where did you go?
For the DOS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Had lots of friends who were going. Didn't like the idea of kind of like the full on fear of missing out of the experience. And I did events management, which is like, it was. I mean, to someone who really wants to go into events, fair enough. And I think that I had this idea that I wanted to go into events, but didn't realise what actually that was.
Yeah.
Like health and safety and talking about to councils and things like that. It's like, it's not actually
quite useful now though with a couple of your ventures.
Well, yeah,
these sorts of
I suppose so. But it's like it just was not for me at all, this degree. And while I was at uni, set up an event and like a student night, which just proved to be like we were really fortunate. It was like super successful for a few years, and so after a year, stopped uni, dropped out, and worked full time on this student event for a couple of years. And like it was really good kind of initial schooling, but like essentially event is just like, it's like any business. It's like you need to promote it, you need to get people to come to the event, you need to make sure they have a good time, and if they have a good time they'll come back. It's like that's your repeat business, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so like there's lots of lessons that you can kind of put across everything that you do. And so it was a wicked like couple of years of my life. Definitely drank too much. I'm not in the best shape at the moment, but I just was a lazy slob who just basically partied, and that was pretty much it. And just kind of...
Was it one of those businesses where you were making like good money for being at uni and that kind of stuff? Where, like...
I don't know. I was making like really good money.
Really?
Yeah. But it was like...
Doesn't that tell back a little bit to what your dad was saying though about like easy money?
Yeah, and it was...
That's kind of that connection there, right?
Yeah, but there was definitely... there was a part of it that was hard work from like getting it off the ground. But then it was like, we kind of knew the formula. We had really good, like, the formula for getting students to go to events is good people there. To get good people there, you need to have good music, you need to have cheap entry, and you need to have cheap drinks prices.
And that's it.
And that is essentially like, but to ensure that you get good people there, obviously you need to have those things, but you then need to network the hell out of kind of like going to different student nights, like getting a good group of people around you.
Yeah.
Like we had those four of us who did it, and we kind of were all from slightly different networks, and we'd really try and just like network out. So if the event was on a Friday, which was on the Monday to Thursday, we'd be out probably 3 of those 4 nights, just like not overselling the business, but being like, oh yeah, we run fresh, and it's like, and then it would just naturally be like, oh yeah, come down on Friday. And you kind of knew the right people. It was almost like influencers within university. You know, like it really does exist. Like if that person, it was almost like the Red Bull cards, remember back in the day. And so we would essentially like get one person each or 2 people each who we knew were like very influential, always get them down, give them a load of free drinks tokens. They'd naturally then bring people down. Yeah. And so there was an element of hard work to it, but essentially it was partying.
How did Joe Hart end up with like your brand? Yeah, because you guys did.
We had quite a few more. We had quite a few actually. We had Balotelli.
Can I just ask why? Because obviously, I mean, for those who don't know, big famous footballers, particularly at the time as well. I mean, Joe Hart was playing for England at the time.
Yeah. Joe Hart was. So what? the guy who did the night with is a guy called Mishek Richards,
Right.
who is Micah Richards' younger brother.
Ah.
And so Micah at the time was at City, vice captain of City. And so, but it was in like the early days of where obviously footballers were like, it wasn't like fashion wasn't like this huge thing for footballers like it is now in social media and all of that. Because we were doing most of our marketing through Facebook. It wasn't Instagram.
What year was this? Just not to age you too much, but is this like 2010?
2010, yeah, 2010. Yeah, 2009, 2010.
So this is like Geordie Shore-esque times.
Yeah,
like
Geordie Shore times. And
reality TV's kind of starting to happen, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we essentially would just like, we'd give all of our merch to Micah, and Micah would just take it into the changing room and just basically take photos of them all wearing it. And then we'd sometimes, like, Micah came down to some events and, like, we had Balotelli.
Just out about his brother, right? It was just literally...
Yeah, but also it was, like, good fun. And Micah's only a year older than us. So, like, he was only 21.
Yeah.
And so it was just, like, he was, like, obviously perfect, like, person to be doing it with. And it just so happened that, like, I met Mishek, or T, everyone calls him, on my first day of uni, and literally was just turned up to uni, didn't know anyone, just was sat next to him. And he was like, hi, I'm Mishek, just got on really well. It took me like 2 weeks to actually realise that he was Mike Richards' brother, because he's very, very, doesn't say it. And he just invited me to come round to his house, because he was living at his brother's, but I thought he was maybe living with his parents or something. I went round to the house and it's like the gate's open. I was like, this is a nice house. It's like wonder what his folks do or something. And then go in and it was like Mike Richards, like fair dudes. Like,
just sat there.
Yeah, really. I was like, I had a lot of respect for the fact that like he didn't say anything. He didn't like people like knowing him for being Micah's brother. And Micah is exactly what you see on the TV. Is like the nicest, loveliest bloke you'll ever meet. So yeah, it was a bit of a. Yeah, it was a good one, that. And it was good fun because it was like influencer marketing didn't really kind of exist.
No.
And especially within football, it's just like... Because
there's probably like a few million in sponsorship there just happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just with it was called Fresh Fridays and we just... Yeah, it was slightly wild. There's actually a lot of the academy guys used to come down a lot. One in particular, you might know. Do you know Reese Wabera, who owns... And Manuel.
I do. Yeah, Maydouar.
So he used to always come. So
because he's ex-footballer, isn't he?
Yeah, so he was in the City Academy, and his best mate, a guy called Cam, was our DJ downstairs. And so it's just like, I literally like, he would come to pretty much every night for like 2 years because his mate was always DJing for us downstairs. And now he's like big. He's got a massive shop now on like.
Maydouar's amazing. Yeah, they're killing it.
He was a really nice guy.
They're flying. Yeah. He's put a lot of energy into that brand.
Yeah.
But this like kind of like crazy business, was it like there were any formalities to it?
No,
you literally just like
no, there's no formality. Yeah, it was. We had like one of the guys was like the money guy.
Was that you?
No, I know it wasn't me. No, I'd have spent it all probably. There was a guy called Henry who he is a VP of marketing at Starship Robots. Do you know those little robots that deliver stuff? And then we had another guy called Jamie who me and him were like more just like the marketing guys. And then T was like the socialite because he would like he just knew everyone. He would just go to parties, and he was the one who brought everyone together. So we were a good little unit. It definitely taught me actually one thing of like, do you know, when I said that there was one of us where we were quite similar of like our job roles.
Yeah,
and me and him, he is now again my best mate, and he's my kid's godfather.
Amazing.
But we had like a big fallout over like some event that I can't quite remember.
This is why you had Fresh Fridays.
Yeah, but we did a couple of like events off it. But no. I mean that a lesson learned from it was that me and this guy, we had some ideas which were very, very different. Even though, but we kind of like our job role within the event business, whatever you want to call it, was very, very similar.
Yeah.
And we had very similar backgrounds, and we had as in like not backgrounds is the wrong word. We had very similar
you're kind of the
skill sets, skill sets, etc. And we fell out big time. And I didn't speak to him for like 18 months after when we said we canned it. When we said we're going to stop and get proper jobs.
Yeah,
me and him didn't speak for like 18 months, and that was a lesson really came out of that was like I don't ever want to go into business with a mate again if we have very, very complementary skill sets. Because I remember me and him just kind of like thrashing it out and just being like, after 18 months, and just kind of being like, what the hell are we not being mates for and everything. And we were as close as ever now. He lives just down the road from me. But it really it definitely gave me a bit of a life lesson for me personally. Just like, I don't work particularly well with like friends where we have very, very similar like skill sets and where we go about it. So the great thing about all the businesses that I'm in now is we're all very, very different. In particular, me and Tom Straker could not be more different.
We'll get onto that for sure. So you mentioned, obviously, you closed it down. I'm sure leaving uni made it impossible to run that kind of business anymore, and it's a very niche one, right? Yeah,
especially with like, I wasn't in uni, but when everyone who I was started uni with started leaving uni, I was like, and I was getting a bit older, and I was thinking, I don't really want to go into Freshers Week.
26.
I think that's like, 24 or something, but didn't really want to be going to Freshers Week anymore. And it's a cutthroat world. Like, you're not guaranteed. You may have the biggest night one year, the next year you have to go again, and you have to like promote the hell out of it. You've got to get all the freshers involved into it, and so it's not like there's not a formula for repeat success.
Yeah,
there's
if you get it right, you get it right. Yeah,
but you basically reset, start again every year. Every year is different. Every year, and so it's a grind, but it was fun for what it was. For what it was, and I wasn't ready to go into like an office job. And
did you have any other like major flops on the events? Did they all kind of fall?
Yeah, we had a couple of flops. Like, we did a night called Saturday Sessions, which was a bit shit. We did Leeds, which did really well for a few months, and then didn't do very well. But our final ever event, we knew that we were going to stop it, and we were like, we want to go out on a bang. And the night was called Fresh Fridays. It was all around like 90s hip hop. It was all like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air style, and like we just kind of went down that route. And so we were like, well, what should we do for the last ever event? And so we flew in DJ Jazzy Jeff from the Fresh Prince from Philadelphia, and we got him to do a set because he's an insane DJ, like unreal DJ. And we got him to do a set at like a big venue. There's like 2,000 people or something, and just like did a final one, and we were like bowed out. And I think we lost money on that event because we wanted to make the ticket price accessible enough of where we were going to ram it out, and just have the best last one, And so we essentially ran the event to break even, but because we gave away so many free tickets to like friends and people like that, I think we maybe lost.
Jazzy Jeff coming in.
He was fucking expensive, He was like probably his best part of all in like $8-9 grand.
For a student night, that's a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a lot. So you wrapped that up, and you did head to the corporate world.
Headed
to AO.com.
Yeah, went to AO.com.
So this is kind of like 2012, 2013?
Yeah, 2012, yeah.
Why go there?
So I had a family connection there. So the guy who started AO.com used to work for my dad.
Okay.
And so I really liked what they were doing. And my brother used to work there. Mm-hmm. And so... and it was really close to where I lived. Yeah. And so for me, it was like they were really, really strong on social media marketing in the early days. Like one of the first to really, I think at one stage they were like top 3 spenders on Meta in the whole of the country.
So for those that don't know, performance ads, they were spending.
Exactly, yeah. It was like when you did everything through Power Editor, which was like, it was awful. But it was like the targeting was just like, it was basically male, female, and then you could do some age range and then relationship status. It's like it's about as like as
if you're single, you need a dishwasher. That's it.
Yeah, but they just went. They really invested in kind of making themselves like more visible and social through like likes on their page, and their page was not about like here is the most recent washing machine. It was like fun stuff. It was like I mean, we used to do like live streams and like 2012, like giveaways and things like that. It was like well ahead of the curve. And
is that what drew you to it? Because there was like innovation happening.
Yeah, the social media, especially the social side, because we did a lot of social with Fresh Fridays. We did. We really, really went hard on like videos, photos, everyone tagging each other in all the photos and that, and like what are the early people to really like try and go hard on that. And so it was. yeah, when I saw what AO were doing, and I was like, okay, I really now need to actually just learn. I just went as like a social media assistant, essentially like made tea and did some social ads and made some content. And it was an amazing schooling of just going into kind of a big office of 500-600 people and like learning about office etiquette and learning about like just what is day-to-day, what is like a normal day-to-day job rather than this kind of pie. I mean, it was a massive eye-opener from a financial perspective because I think I was paid like 14 grand a year. And wow. I'd gone from like, I can't talk too much about it because there was quite a lot of cash being, there wasn't a huge amount of tax being paid in the events world, but I was earning a lot more than that.
When you're doing Fresh Fridays?
Yeah.
Was that like I guess the mindset just like there from going like, I guess a lot of freedom, a lot of fun, completely different environment into kind of the corporate world.
Yeah.
Was there a bit of an adjustment period there for you?
Even when I was ready for it.
Were you?
Yeah. I was burnt out. I was burnt out from just like, I was sick of socializing all the time. I was sick of like going out partying. I was really craving going into something which was just like a bit boring, or what I would associate at the time as a bit boring.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. I think I did like 3 years there, and it was maybe 3.5 years. It was just an amazing lesson of growth of a business. And the business was like, I went in when it was in like a bit of a shitty office down the road, and then it floated, and we changed the name to AO.com because it was called Appliances Online when I first started there. And then it floated to the stock exchange for a crazy amount of money, and we then went into like from just doing performance ads into like out of home, into TV, into that, and I got to go across this whole journey of like from being like super efficient on performance marketing to then going into like brand marketing, and then like working with big agencies,
as it's happening as well, right?
And then working with Mediacom of like planning, TV campaigns and things like that. So it was a wicked journey to be in, and I was really fortunate to go in at the right time. So a business which was pretty unsexy. I mean, I sold washing machines and fridges.
Was there one like big lesson you had from that experience though? Was there something where you were just like, this is obviously what I want to take into whatever I do next?
Yeah, I think for me, like, my boss there was a guy called Yossi Erdman, and I just loved his enthusiasm around not giving a shit what the product category was, and actually being like, we can make anything fun. Doesn't matter whether it's a rug, whether it's a vase, whether it's a bloody washing machine. Let's have fun with it, stand out from the crowd. And I just love that it was just so infectious the way that he was about like how we can make washing machines fun, how we can make fridges fun, how we can do XYZ fun. And like that isn't done enough in my opinion. It's not done enough in like boring, stale categories. I suppose if I think about what category I'm in now, butters, like maybe just saying it out loud now is like it's really kind of come from there of boring category, inject some fun into it. I mean, these live streams we used to do on YouTube Live. Periscope? No, we were like beta. We were the beta of YouTube Live function for live stream, like 15 or 10, whatever years ago.
Yeah, it was 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were like, I mean, we were in the office, just basically having like a party in the office, and we'd have like, sometimes we had like 5,000 people watching us do this live stream, and we're like,
what were you doing in the live stream?
Just like playing games and like talking to everyone in the comments and just like giving away vacuums and giving away like, it was honest. You can see some of them up on YouTube. They're slightly wild, and we'd have like genuinely thousands of people watching us. I think the most we ever got at one time was like 4,000 or 5,000 people live watching us doing this, and it's just the team. It was the brand and like performance team, just kind of like, and oh, Angela, you've won a vacuum, and so it was completely insane. But that was it worked, and it was just so fun. And for like, Currys is essentially your biggest competitor, and they are like as boring as it comes.
Because it must be like PC World and Currys at the same time.
So it was just Currys. So they were bought out. Comet was still going there.
Yeah.
There's a few others like that, but Now it's essentially AO, Amazon, and Curry's PC World, like big 3 players.
Damn. I mean, I wasn't really expecting you to say that in the experience of being AO. No offense to them, but like,
Yeah,
it is a big corporate. I mean, they're huge now, like you say. So it's massive.
Well over $1 billion revenue. But to be fair though, it isn't actually. If you go to the AO office, it's a fun place to be.
Really,
like across the entire business. Like it is instilled from the top up. It's like we like to do things differently. We like to be like, even the call centers like is fun.
Yeah, the
sales team's fun. Like there is an injection of fun throughout the entire place. And I got to design. I actually got some random job is that I was actually part of the team who like designed the office space. It's very, very weird. Just like doing it was because I was kind of sat in the brand team at the time, and so then the brand team got told that we were then doing the office. So that was so fun. Like just designing basically a bit of a playground for washing machines.
Why not?
Yeah,
amazing. And then after giving away vacuums at AO.com, you left. You know, after a couple of years, you wanted to move on. Was there a reason for that, or was it just the timing?
Yeah, no. To be honest, it was. I was sick of. I was sick of having lots of agencies doing loads of work for us. Right. And so, and when I say sick, I was sick of having lots of agencies do loads of work for us that I didn't really understand. And I knew at the time I was like 25 or something, 24, 25. And I kind of had it in my mind, I was like, I feel like I've got until 30. I kind of got over the idea that I wasn't going to be retired by 30.
I was going to say, that's slowly disappeared.
Yeah, that's and I kind of got into my mind as that I've got this period up to 30 where I want to try and learn as much as possible, but in different businesses, different types of businesses, etc., to kind of like round myself a lot more commercially, or just like have better, well-rounded knowledge across the board. So Mediacom were doing all of our buying for TV and mainly TV and out of home. Yeah. And I couldn't go to a Mediacom because it was a non-compete that they couldn't take a member of AO because it was one of our big clients. And they wouldn't even entertain it anyway because AO was spending tens of millions at the time. And so I went to Mediacom's biggest rival called Dentsu Aegis, which I'd assume is still as big as ever now. Mm-hmm. And I just went into like as a junior buyer. So I'd worked myself up from like social media assistant, social media exec, senior exec, I think. And then I went to brand manager at AO. Yeah. And then I went into interview with Dentsu Aegis and to be a planner buyer. And I was like, okay, can I go as like a planner buyer manager? And I remember the guy just being like, really like your experience, but you actually have you see the decks. You need to like get back down. So I went back down to like, I don't think I went as assistant. I think I went as an exec. Right. At Dentsu Aegis.
Was that quite a humbling experience in some way?
Yeah, but I loved it. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed it because I was planning and buying TV, out of home, digital video, predominantly digital video. I wasn't doing a huge amount of like text ads or even actually digital video more in like programmatic digital video rather than like Meta. Yeah. Back then. Yeah. But I really enjoyed like getting stuck into like the engine of how a kind of a media plan is made from the start into then this fancy deck that I've then seen. Yeah. And I felt that my experience being on the client side was really invaluable for when I was looking at kind of formulating these decks over a period of time. So I was like going into the mindset of what I was thinking back being a brand manager of what those guys want to see and like what's important to them. Because quite often I'd see decks that were way too much detail, where it was like they got, and you know, I suppose there's a balance of like understanding the audience of who you're doing. If you're presenting to a brand manager who has no experience in kind of like buying any kind of ads or out of home, wherever it is, to someone who then actually has got a background in media agencies, for me, I would present a completely different deck, because there's like a level of detail. So for me, if someone gives me a deck, because I bought Facebook ads, Google ads, I bought every ad under the sun, is like, I want to see the detail and I'm really interested in the detail. But for a brand manager who hasn't seen that, they want to see what are the objectives of the campaign? What are they being measured to as a brand manager?
Yeah.
And like nail the hell out of those points and let them think that this is going to be the most successful campaign based on their objectives. So thinking, don't worry about your CPMs, so talking about that, or even like even the CTRs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like just focus on those like top line metrics. And so I think that, well, it doesn't, whatever the business is different, but just say for a business where they're just focusing or he's just focusing on top line metrics. And so that really set me in good stead. And so I went through the ranks a little bit there. And didn't go to like associate director there. I think I went exec, senior exec, manager. And then I actually went to MediaCom in London.
Why did you go back to them?
Well, I moved to London, so from Manchester. And I was like, I was going to make the move, and it was going to be, I'd have to do an interview process into Dentsu in London anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're treated as completely separate businesses. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I fancy actually. I kind of wanted to go to MediaCom before anyway, but wasn't really allowed. And so I went to MediaCom and just carried on as I was for another, I think I did 12 months there.
Yeah.
Until got the call for Harry's.
Yeah, the next thing. We'll come on to that. At this point, I guess you've done a lot in marketing, right?
Yeah.
You've been brand side, you've been kind of at like a very amazing position with AO.com where it's kind of exploding while you're there.
Yeah.
You're then going to two massive agencies. I mean, MediaCom, a lot of people will know, Dentsu people, and a lot of people will know as well. But like that experience for anyone else in the marketing world, obviously that's my background as well. But like, do you think it's important to experience both?
Personally, yeah. I think that they're very different. And for me, as like now running the butter business, but even like when I was at Trip or any of the businesses where I've been at like a senior level,
yeah,
having an understanding, and particularly from an agency perspective, of how they work, I think is like completely invaluable if you're client side.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough people, in my opinion, from client side who understand enough about actually how agencies work and how the teams are set up, and like you ask different questions, in my opinion, if you've been agency side than you would do if you've never done agency side.
And do you think it's also like how to maximize that agency?
100%, yeah. And I think that's from like the questions you're asking the teams who are, if you are completely kind of, agencies can, not saying all do, but some can bring out the A team for the pitch.
Yeah.
And then when you win the account, and say you're a smaller account, the A team are gone, and then you've got some grads who've been there 3 months and that who are running your account, who don't have the commercial knowledge that the A team had when they're really trying to relate to the brand, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And so for me now, if I was ever in a pitch with an agency, I would be like, please, I want you to pitch me with the team who would be looking after your account. And I don't mind having a senior person, obviously, there, but then I want to be speaking, I want to be presented to by exactly.
Yeah.
And if that senior person is going to be there, what from that, say it's an account director or business director or even the founder, how much time am I actually going to get from that person? Mm-hmm. Because if I'm going to get nothing, then I don't mind them being in the room, but there's no point, in my opinion, in them talking to me through the strategy and all of that, because they're not actually going to be doing anything to do with the strategy.
No.
And so that can, like, some people don't like that, but in my, like, I'm like, what do you expect? It's like, I want to know the people who I'm working with.
I mean, we do that quite a lot, but
I didn't actually know that you did that. So
no. In terms of we try and put the actual team on the pitch.
Yeah.
I believe in what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult for bigger agencies, smaller agencies with pitch times and team sizes, and like you want to roll out your best team because they're the ones that are feeding down from the top and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's completely right, and I think it's just a challenge in service-based businesses. Like everyone thinks running an agency is really easy. Like the stat I love the most is like, pre-COVID, there was like 6,500 agencies in the UK that did a digital service. At the end of 23, there's 13,500 of the things. So it's just like, it's a busy market. And I think that I love that you worked at two massive agencies, because like when you go inside those big agencies, like it's just different. It's just like a different ball game. And also what I was going to ask you about really is like the promotions you had while you're there, because even at AO.com and at both those agencies, I think MediaCom, you maybe had one position or two positions, but like you were getting promoted quite quickly. Why did that happen?
I think two sides. One is that I worked hard, and two is that I was a pain in the ass. I'd ask a lot. I wanted goal. I wanted to like, that's my goal. Okay, I'm going to go to the goal, and then I'm going to knock on the door and be like, where's the promotion?
What's the advice here though? Because like, I think that a lot of people, like particularly in agencies, particularly even in brand side, like that promotion, everyone's wanting to move forward. There's so many driven people in the marketing world now. Like, I think it's one of the most driven kind of like sectors within brands. You know, sales is obviously always mad driven, but like marketing teams, they all want growth. They all full of ambitious people. Like, how do you actually grow in those environments?
I think you have to push for tangible goals for yourself, where you have to, and then you've got to do everything in your power to hit them. Yeah. And there's always going to be factors out of your control where you may not get promoted. And I've had that in the past. And in the brutalist sense, when that has happened, and I have this kind of fixed goal of where I want to be in 5 years' time, I've left. I've gone right. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm happy now to move on to a place which can give me that next promotion to go into, because it's not for everyone, this mentality, but for me it was very much a mentality of like, I only have a finite amount of time to get to to learn what I want to do. And if I'm going to stagnate in a role where I feel that I'm already getting to the point of where I should be in the next part, then I want to move on. And has
that been when you truly believe that you should be in the next point?
Yeah, truly. I think that if at Mediacom, I only started really looking at Mediacom because there was it was a tough time and they were on a promotion freeze. And I was like, okay, I've not been there that long, but I feel like at the level I am now, I've learned as much as I can do in the industry. Oh, look, you can always make small incremental things every year.
Of course.
But if I think about those big giant steps of learning, I felt like I've done the big at the role I was at.
Yeah, because big business is big learning, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah. And so I'd probably learned 80% of what I could have done at that level. And that next 20% was probably going to be over a 2 or 3 year period. Yeah. And for me, I wasn't prepared to wait the next 2 or 3 years. And there was impatience to it. And so, although it wasn't like gunning, like I need to leave, but I just thought I'm going to go and have a look out there and see what's...
have a sniff outside, yeah.
Have a little sniff. And I just so happened to get a LinkedIn message from the Harry's internal recruiter being like, we're looking for somebody who has got client-side experience and agency-side experience, and there's not many. You're a profile that we've seen, would love to chat to you. And it was just like perfect timing.
Mad. So Harry's, for those that don't know, very big disruptor brand, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Started off with razors,
yeah.
D2C model.
Yeah.
This is kind of 2015, 2016, where kind of the D2C stuff's kicking off.
Yeah.
You know, aesthetic looking brands are all the craze.
Yeah.
And you get the DM.
Yeah, got the DM, and I knew absolutely nothing about them because I hadn't launched in the UK.
Because their business is American business.
Yeah, it's a New York business, and so had absolutely no idea who they were, but loved the sound of it.
Yeah,
they gave a good spiel. A girl called Ang Harrod gave me the spiel, and so did some research about the business. They were looking at just about to launch in the UK, and the whole idea of the model, D2C, subscription service, really try and penetrate the market, get a smallish market share, go into retailer, turn into an omni-channel model where you can go into the supermarket if you want to buy it, but if you want to have convenience of subscriptions, you don't need to do it, you can go online. It's like the opposite of what Dollar Shave Club did. Dollar Shave Club, and that's been a disaster now.
Because Dollar Shave Club was around before Harrods, right? They're 2012, right?
Yeah, they were. I think they were. Maybe a year after or something. Dollar Shave Club obviously went viral with that video, which was epic. The video that they did where it was all the one take. Do you remember seeing?
Yeah, is this Dan Bilzerian's video?
No, it's not Dan.
Because he was involved with Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, was he? Maybe I can't remember.
I actually don't know. I might be chatting shit here, but I'm pretty sure that Dan Bilzerian used to have Dollar Shave Club. He used to have that dollar thing where he was sat in the armchair as like Santa, and it was the one take thing, and then he was involved with it for sort of 2-3 years.
Oh, really?
And then all of a sudden, the one take video that I think you're talking about, the other one, that came from it, but they were both called like Shave something.
Oh, was it?
Because I think that was the launch in the States. I think it was a big thing because he was like 2012, came out of nowhere, and
I don't honestly. If I'm honest, I really don't remember. But I just remember they did that video, and then obviously they were a big competitor of ours. But the difference, what they did, and they obviously got bought by Unilever for $1 billion. So the founders are.
Was it really $1 billion?
Yeah, I think it was $1 billion.
Flipping out.
And they got bought out, but their biggest issue, in my opinion, was that they bashed the retailer. They were like, shaving, don't go to the retailers. Yeah, don't go to the retailers. It's so shit. Just get dollar razors for your post. Blah blah blah. And
too aggressive.
It was too. But like in 10 years' time, when like e-com's even bigger than it is now, like what percentage of the shaving market's going to be buying razors online?
Yeah,
50%.
Yeah,
like that would be an amazing case. So you're just alienating 50% of the market in 10 years' time. Well, the razor market is like 90% retail, so your market size is like 10% of your thing, and then you're still competing within that 10% anyway.
Yeah,
and so it was never gonna. They were never going to be able to continue the growth that they were getting because there's a ceiling. And that's why Harry's was, in my opinion, played an absolute blinder, which was product market fit, get it right on D2C, D2C's convenience, but we also love retail and we want you to be able to buy razors wherever you want, whichever's convenient to you.
Yeah.
And it absolutely smashed out of the park.
So you joined in a growth role, right? It was
in the growth role, yeah. So
position. What does that really mean for those that don't know?
Well, if I wanted to change, it's different for every business, to be honest.
Yeah. But generally, what does it tend to mean for brands at the moment? Because there's a lot of growth role.
Yes, in mine is anything. In my opinion, growth is anything to do with kind of performance, marketing of the business. So, and that can be from a creative perspective, but also from kind of an ads perspective. So creative being like focusing on creative that is where you're highly optimizing it from a click-through rate perspective, but then also from all the ads. It's essentially like the growth of new customers within the business, and nurturing repeat businesses, repeat customers in the business.
So when you started, they were launching in the UK.
Just
setting up a team there. And I guess you were there to lead the charge.
Yeah, so we like, I had a boss called Chris Segal who was like, me and him were very, very opposite, but like...
There's a pattern emerging there about working with opposites.
Yeah, we were very, very opposite. But like, I learned an insane amount from like, especially from subscription, about subscription businesses, about performance marketing, about like really, really like being so anal on data and like small increment. If you make 10 small changes and you have very small incremental improvement on all 10 of those, or say 5 of the 10, you're actually getting like big changes. And that was like, well, we're talking quite a lot, still like 7 years ago, something now, but where now I feel like in the last few years, people have been honing more in on like lifetime value and small incremental improvements across like unit economics or within your ad set, within wherever you're buying your ads and creative, etc. But like Harry's was like a machine. It was like a machine of.
Did it
like
take off straight away in the UK?
It did pretty well.
Or was it kind of, obviously you're kind of talking about marginal gains in some way, right?
Yeah, it was like, it did pretty, we were doing decent numbers. When we started really smashing it on the park was when we started doing some above the line marketing. Right. And above the line killed it.
Just for those who don't know, explaining above the line.
Yeah, so we were mainly doing TV ads, but anything like TV, out of home, kind of big campaigns that are above like, more like branding campaigns. But we managed to get TV advertising working on a CPA level, which was like, but we were like very, very good.
So for those that just don't quite know, what you're saying is that you're running TV ads and you could work out how many customers you're actually retaining from those ads.
Yeah, so we had a pretty good in-house built attribution model that was from the States, from our US team. Yeah. And the US did a lot of like podcast marketing. They did a lot of, like, back in the day, they did a lot of TV, did a lot of radio. Yeah. And they invested a lot of money into like finding an attribution model that they felt confident in. And we also use like third-party attribution models. So like we use like TV squared, for instance, for TV. And the base of the model was on kind of a post-purchase survey with then TV squared data, with also then data coming in from like Google ads, Facebook ads, etc., and then some clever way something then happened, and then spat out a number at the end of it. But even from TV, from just using third-party attribution models, which would normally think that for TV is like crazy money, we just nailed it from the creative perspective, and also just getting people on, like having an intro offer that was like really, really appealing to a really wide audience that just kind of hooked people in.
That was my next question, is what do you think Harry's got right in the stage you're at? Is that basically what it was?
I think so look, anyone can do an intro offer, but to have an intro offer and then have a great product, and then a product that people then genuinely use on a day-to-day basis, and then realise that actually this is a cheaper alternative. And so our churn rate was like, I mean, I can't say exactly what it was, but it was like very low. Yeah. Even from people coming in from like mass audience coming from TV, it was still like, it was still pretty low.
Yeah, compared to what you would normally
like
see.
Nowhere near like 30-40%. Nowhere near.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was like really, really strong. But it was because like great intro offer, but the intro offer was, we had confidence in having a low intro offer because we had so much confidence in the product that people were then going to get. And if you buy razors, you shave most days. Yeah. Like, because you're not buying that intro offer if you just you have to bick in the shower, which you use like once every 2 weeks or something like, and it's just the same thing. Like you're not buying it. You're buying it if you shave. And it was just, it's a great proposition, great business, great like email marketing. Like we were really fortunate that we had an amazing team in the States who let us get on with it from like a localization perspective, but also supported us a huge amount from like a tech perspective. And we had a great team, like the performance team that was like really, really strong, like still get on particularly well to us, get on with all of them. Yeah. And they're all kind of like senior people across the board. Like one of them's head of growth at Moneybox, another one was head of growth at Edgar Cooper, another one was head of growth at Flume, I think it was, one of the like the new tampon businesses. Yes. One of them was head of growth at Skin and Meat. So like everyone has basically gone into like senior role, all from the same, all from that, from team. Like assistants, execs, senior execs, managers. Everyone's got into. That's amazing. And mainly from like just very good schooling. That's big. So, I mean, you were at Harry's for a little while, right? Yeah, a few years. Yeah, 2.5 years maybe. And then what made you want to move on from that? You got bored again? It was I felt that I wanted to go to the next level of career, and boss at the time, we had a different recollection of a conversation that we had about like setting tangible goals. And so after that conversation, when I found out that I wasn't going to go to where I wanted to be, I literally went on my phone because I knew that I had a couple of DMs from some businesses I was interested in who was just about to say no, and then took a meeting with Away. Day, was it with Away? And then within 2 weeks, hand over notice in. Do you think there was a mistake there from let's say from the Harry's team in that perspective? No, because do you think you would have kind of ended up going anyway? Oh, I was going to go I was going to go. Yeah, maybe not to Away. I was going to go. I get itchy feet, and the goal is always still the goal. The goal isn't anything to do with Harry's. The goal isn't anything to do with any of the businesses. The goal is to do with me getting to a point personally of where I feel confident enough to then run my own business. That is the goal. I guess you're getting close to 30, so like that goal. Yeah, and I was getting close to 30. Maybe I didn't even hit 30. I can't remember. No, I hadn't hit 30 actually. So you walked into Away in what, 2018, 2019? Yeah, and which, for those that don't know, is a suitcase brand. Yeah, another New York business suitcase brand, just hit the $1 billion valuation, just raised $100 million.
At the time?
Yeah, at the time.
Wow.
Just raised $100 million, setting up an international office. And I was essentially looking after international marketing for them. So any region outside the US. So
what was the draw for you? Was it just the pure excitement of where that
loved the product.
Really?
Really, really like the product. Amazing. I just think it's a wicked product in a industry that is pretty stale.
Yeah.
Samsonite, not Anchor, what's it called? Whatever the one was being with A's, I can't think of them.
Is that the American one?
I can't.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Whatever it is. Antler, Samsonite, obviously Rimowa, but Rimowa's significantly higher end. It's like a grand a bag. And just felt that the proposition was absolutely bang on. Like the price point I thought was perfect. So the product was very, very good. And to be honest, even if we hadn't had that conversation and I'd taken a meeting, but I suppose the interesting thing is I probably would have taken the meeting, and so I wouldn't have known about it. But as soon as I took the meeting and actually heard more about it and then got to touch with it, because I went to the shop to go, and that's where I met the person. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I want this job. Like, I really, really want to do this. And it was just an awesome experience because I got to deal. So I was doing Europe, Australia, Canada, UK, essentially running the marketing.
And I guess at the time where they're exploding.
Yeah, we're going not massive in the States. I mean, it's humongous. If you go to the US now, it's like every other bag's like an away bag.
Really?
Like we did well in the UK. Did well in most markets. I think what was funny was like I'd gone from a $2.95 trial set to a $300 bag. But so it was like my CPA targets were significantly higher, so you can imagine.
Yeah.
Because margins are pretty good. I suppose one of the difficult things is the repeat is quite hard because you sell accessories and you want someone to buy the whole set. So, for instance, big one, small one, maybe then like the bag that pops over the small one, and then you're essentially done. Like you can't really extract that 2-3
years.
Yeah, you can't really extract that much more out of them. But it's still like that customer's worth $1,200.
Yeah.
So it's like you're making good money out of them. But yeah, it was good, and used to got to go to New York quite a lot. But yeah, unfortunately, COVID happened.
I was going to say, and then this little thing called COVID happened and shut down the travel market.
Yeah.
Was at that point you were there for what, a year?
I think I just hit a year, or maybe even 11 months or something, which was just the timing was very, very bad. It was just very bad. I was just about to have my first kid. And
you're still in London at this point?
Yeah, still in London. And I was just like...
Did you know, I guess, I hate talking too much about COVID on this podcast because everyone's so done with it. But when it obviously happened for you guys, was it pretty much like, we're in trouble here?
Well, I mean, you essentially lost 95% of revenue overnight. Or like 90%. It was something ridiculous like that. And they furloughed us pretty quick. And most of the team just stayed on the furlough. But again, for me, I was like, I saw no way out for at least 2 years. I was like,
did you think that's going to be life for 2 years?
I just thought the travel market just from like the first month or so of COVID, I was like, the travel market ain't getting back to normal for at least a couple of years, or maybe 18 months, a couple of years. I'm like, and if I do get unfurloughed and there starts being small lifts in restrictions, not like big kind of global restriction lifts, I was like, this business is going to be run so lean. And so I was just like,
to recover,
this just isn't like. And some of the guys, in fact, most of the team, I think I was the only one who left, and they got unfurloughed after 3 months. But I remember speaking to the team, being like, it's great that you guys are unfurloughed, and it seemed like, and they were a lovely, really, really lovely team we had in London, but it was like slow for them.
Really?
Yeah, because
yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, it took a long, long time.
So what did you go away and do?
I was having a kid, just about to have a kid, and I thought, okay, I need to go to a job that is COVID proof. And so I was looking around, and the head of acquisition for patch plants came up, and I was like, that's about as COVID proof as it gets, because everyone loves plants, and everyone was buying plants, everyone was doing home improvements, and they were going through a period which you can imagine is like business that was doing like pretty well, like ticking over, like nice month on month growth and everything. And COVID happened, you're like, the business is like 5 times the size.
It must have been overnight for
it went
as well.
Insane. And so they were like,
organically as well, right?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, and the great, like, really, like, Freddie's a great guy. He's the guy who owns it. Like, got so much time for him. And then my boss there was a guy called Frankie, and I was just like, they were really desperate to start bringing someone in, and so I was like, I'm ready. I'm like, I want to go. I can start tomorrow. And so went to Patch, had my kid. And it was fully COVID proof. It was it was so fun because it went insane.
Describe how insane it went.
Oh, I mean,
obviously,
like,
you can't mention numbers.
It was like I can't remember how big, but like if you see the graph of orders, I'm not even. It's like it was like, and then just growth month on month, and like all the creatives we were bashing. I mean, we were crashing out hundreds and hundreds of creatives of just like fun plant creatives and Patch has got such a great personality to it, and at the time everyone was so miserable being in, and so you were essentially putting ads on feeds which people actually liked because it was like fun plant ads rather than trying to flog someone a razor. Or
did it remind you of AO a little bit?
Yeah, but with actually a product that people liked. It was like, you got to be fun but with a product that people liked. And so it was just a really great period. We had a great team. I had a girl called Charlotte working for me who was PR manager. And then we had like great creative team who would just churn out so much great creative for us. Really, I'd probably say one of the things that I learned a huge amount about when I was at Patch, because away and at Harry's, most of retention marketing was done from the US, and then we got to localize it. But a lot of like the flow building out and like a lot of the testing and things like that was all done in the US. And at Patch, we had someone called Faith, who was I think head of retention. I think was her role of retention manager, and she was so good. Like really, really an amazing testing program.
Because I guess during this time, right, you're getting crazy acquisition organically. Yeah. You guys are obviously putting a lot of work into.
We put a lot of money into.
Yeah, and boost that as much as you can. But organically, they're going to resonate a little bit more than normally would all these other variables. Where most brands would have got this wrong is that if you're spending loads to get that one customer and never see them again, you haven't really got a business.
That was an interesting actual. That was actually quite an interesting like conundrum to try and solve, which was trying to break down from an attribution perspective actually how much was organic and how much was paid, because obviously paid is going to take all the credit.
Yeah, we had that problem a lot during COVID.
Yeah, and so like and that was something that I really enjoyed kind of getting my teeth stuck into. We had multiple theories, and they built a great BI function in Patch, which was really, really great. And we had Looker, which was and like set up correctly as well. Looker, great. Had a BI called Sean who did a lot of work with, like, I worked loads with him on like creating new attribution models for us to try and differentiate that organic and paid. But our paid CPAs were so low that, like, my opinion was, if it carries on staying that low, we could be kind of at one point we could have been like 3 or 4 times what our CPA was, and would still be fine.
Was it low and scaling in terms
exactly?
Of
exactly. And so we would just like keep putting the pedal down and see what happens next week, and then next week CPA staying where it is, and we're just still seeing the revenue go through the roof. So we're like, well, and then you got to the point of where then the CPA starts creeping up, and then so then you have to start having a balancing act of, because we hit a ceiling. Yeah, but it was like it was really, and we were basically trying every channel under the sun, because we were like, well, Facebook's flying, let's do Pinterest, because Pinterest seems like a great place to put plants, because everyone's doing home decor. Then we were doing Twitter. Then we were doing loads of programmatic. We were basically throwing, because we were thinking to ourselves, this is our opportunity. This opportunity ain't going to come again.
Yeah.
So let's try and scale as much as possible.
Yeah.
As efficiently as possible. And then know that this drop-off is going to come up at some point, but we will hopefully then have a customer base of 250,000 people, maybe even more, where we can have them as like lifetime customers and then nurture them over a period of time. So it was definitely the right, in my opinion, it was definitely the right approach. But when COVID settled down,
the lockdowns lifted.
Yeah, lockdowns lifted. It slowed. It slowed, but it was still doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I remember it was like trying to like model where we thought, because we knew it was going to drop off big time.
Yeah, of course.
So it was just trying to model out where we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And where it would get to.
Yeah.
At this point, you've obviously gone from like 14k a year social assistant, I think is what you think the role was called.
Yeah,
when you started.
I think that's actually a YouTube assistant. I think
let's call it that.
Yeah.
This is better. YouTube assistant, and then 8 years later, you're now
head of acquisition
at like an amazingly fast growing brand. You've just done international growth. Fortunately, obviously that didn't work out. Like, how ready were you for this time in your career? Like, did it all feel like you built up over a period of time, or were you still a bit like, I've got a lot of stuff to work out?
Oh no, still had lots to work out. Because I had been fortunate that I'd been pretty lucky from a timing perspective in a lot of places that I was going to.
Sure.
Harry's was good because you got that initial growth, and then it was tough's maybe the wrong word, but it was challenging because we're still trying to grow month on month, and we've got all the early adopters now. Now it's about like, and we were in retail now, so it's like, we know that a lot of our online customers are now buying in retail. And so that was like a challenging period. But I still felt that I had more challenging periods to navigate before feeling like I was like content in a role and like I was really, would feel 100% confident in the role. I felt confident still in what I was doing, but I always knew that there was still loads more to learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's every category is so different, whether it's price point, whether it's whether it's kind of audience, whether it's like function, whatever it is, like everything, you can apply some learnings to it, of course, but from experience, but you are essentially still learning then something new every time, because it's a very different consumer.
Yeah.
It's a very different way that a consumer's thinking depending on what the category is, and therefore you have to adapt to that.
Adapt and learn. And I guess at that point, with Patch growing, slowing down, the final thing on the CV was ending up at Trip.
Yeah, actually before that, so I was at Patch, and we kind of settled at like a nice little, like a good run rate, and it wasn't that I was bored or anything. I was always doing a little bit of consulting on the side with just a few of the brands,
right?
And Qubits was one of my kind of brands that I would do like on the weekend or in the evenings. And then from Qubits, I had a few other recommendations as like a consultant to go and work for different brands. And it just got to a point of where I had an opportunity to have 5 or 6 clients earn significantly more money than I was at Patch. And I said to Freddie, I was like, look, I'm happy to like transition this over like a longer period of time. Maybe I could do 2 days a week until you bring in the right person.
Yeah.
So it was just like a transition to being a consultant for about 12 months. And then Trip was one of my clients. So I was 1 day a week on Trip.
And then you started to get a bit more involved.
Yeah. And then I lost, and then I can't remember which, I think it was Qubits. We brought someone into the role at Qubits as like a head of growth role. And so I think I was doing 2 days a week there or day and a half a week there. And so then I just started like just advisory stuff for Tom, who's the guy that owns it, which was like half a day a month, and that was it. And essentially I just paid myself in glasses because he became a good mate of mine. And so these days then started freeing up, and then James, who's the MD of Trip, was like, can you do 2 days a week? And then it was like, can you do 3 days a week? And then we were trying to hire like a growth director, head of growth, and we couldn't quite find the right person. And then it was like 4 days a week. And then James was like, I'm not paying a day rate 4 days, 4 days a week. And so we kind of thrashed out a deal.
And you were at Trip, I guess, when it was, again, growing quite heavily.
Yeah. So when I first started, they just started like, I think they, if I remember rightly, they just got their they just got some of their ad campaigns like gaining a little bit of momentum. Like just seeing some really good numbers coming out of their ad account.
Yeah. And
James, who like really smart guy, like got a lot of time for James, still really friendly with him. He just needed, because his background was brand, and as a consultant, he needed someone to come in who's kind of like scaled ad accounts before, and that's what I was doing 1 day a week, and then just to kind of give him like the little nudge over, being like, James, trust me, we need to spend some more money. And he's like, sure? I was like, 100%. And then the next week we were like, we need to spend even more money. And then next week and next week. And so, yeah, we had a really good relationship, and it just kind of organically turned into me then working. So I worked full time, but I only worked 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Because I was, I had some other things like work stuff going on as well, that the deal was with James that I'll do it, and I'll go on to like a full-time contract, so salaried rather than day rated, but 4 days a week, not 5 days a week, so I can still do my own thing at the same time.
Do your best.
But yeah, it was that start, that initial like first 3 or 4 months was probably the most intense I've ever been, more than Patch, more than anything, but like insanely rewarding.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, Harry's, Patch, Trip, Away, Qubits, and I'm sure there's other brands you've been a part of. Like, what do they all have in common that makes them so successful?
Great product.
Really? You think that's it?
All of them. Patch is easy because, well, not easy, because you have to find great growers.
Yeah.
But like great product, like the best quality plants you can buy. Trip's product, from the feel, from the taste, in my opinion, I think is very, very strong. And like the repeats, you can see it, like people really, really love the brand. Qubits just, for me, is like their attention to detail on product is almost too far. Every little part of that, you go into their stores, they're just the most beautiful stores. Yeah. And Tom is like, Tom of course, there's Tom Broughton. Of course he cares about bottom line and all that, but the number one focus is ensuring that the product is exactly where he wants it to be. Harry's great product, Away great product, AO great quad product. Yeah. I think you have to have, you can have shorter, you can do well shorter if you're in the right time, right place, and a trend is on, but you only smash out the park if you've got a brilliant product.
Do you just feel that average or bad product, even if you've got all the marketing budget in the world, just never gets there?
It's not that it never gets there. There's loads of businesses that get there, but for me personally, like, it doesn't float my boat as like from a working perspective. The product's average. Like for me to give my all, I've got to think the product's fantastic, and therefore and that gives me the confidence to scale, and knowing that a lot of scaling has to do with confidence. Like you have to, in my opinion, it's like you have to be confident to spend sometimes more money than you'd want to try and see whether you can scale that ad account. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does, but you, in my opinion, you should only like roll that dice if you've got a decent amount of early data to show that you feel that this has got opportunity to be able to scale well, but also if you're really confident in the product, that from a lifetime value perspective and for a repeat purchase, you can get yourself in a place of where you can perhaps you can pay yourself back over like a shorter window rather than just being like, and the other day, if you have a product that sells for 20 quid and it's pretty crap, you're never going to sell another one to the same person. No. And so therefore, and you've got a £20 CPA, you're just hemorrhaging money.
So after all the chaos of working on some of these fast-growing brands and doing many different roles, I mean, it seemed like a wild couple of years for you, for sure. you partner back up with an old friend, or you start chatting with Mr. Tom Straker. And start making some plans. This is 2022, right? So we've kind of done the 10 years of chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose this is what was going on in the background. So me and Tom have known each other 20 years, like, and we're like have like a brotherly relationship. And so I kind of seen him go through this kind of the restaurant journey and like absolute workhorse.
Yeah.
Done really well working themselves from like pot wash up through to kind of head chefs at some really great places. And I was like, at the time, I can't remember which business it was that, but within the digital marketing space, etc. And so really wanted to push him to do online content videos, and particularly when COVID happened. And so...
Because was he working at this point? Because of COVID?
So at COVID, he had a private client. He was fortunate that he was working for a private family.
Right.
And the private family kept him on through COVID. But he had loads of spare time, so he was just cooking for a family of like 6.
Yeah.
That was it. And so me and him would literally like FaceTime for hours in the day or in the evening. And we'd talk about like doing videos and like different styles, and some of the early ones were dreadful. But
why were they dreadful?
Dude was just like, he had no confidence behind the camera. He was like bright red. He's like, the camera angles were terrible, but just kind of like persevered at it. He's got that kind of mindset that he would just carry on working at it. And look, I can't take in those early days any credit for it apart from just kind of like being an encouraging best mate of like, and I really felt that there was something there.
Yeah.
Because that you can't name many like big personality chefs who are younger than, like, big personality but like big across like social, etc., or like even like TV, who are like under the age of like 40.
Yeah.
Even probably 50 now. Like Jamie Oliver was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like the old guard, isn't it?
It's like the old guard, like James Martin, Jamie Oliver, Gordon, Heston.
The old school TV chefs isn't really coming through.
No.
Not the ones that are mainly social based.
Yeah, not the same scale, nowhere near the scale of those guys.
Yeah.
Like Tom is by quite a long way the biggest now of like this generation from like as a professional chef.
Yeah.
So I think there's a distinction of like, there's pretty big social media chefs, social media cooks, who do pretty well from content perspective, but there's not really anyone who's like, and there are now, like the Fallow guys have been doing a lot of content recently.
They're smashing it, yeah.
They're doing well. They've got herd chefs. They're about 500,000 followers. There's a few of that who are kind of like from a professional angle. I think Tom's like 5.7 million now across everything.
So you guys link up. You're chatting on FaceTime. You're selling pants, razors, or one of them. And you guys are planning kind of the next moves, I guess.
Yeah. So the restaurant was always something I wanted to do.
And so this is when Tom's making content, right? He's kind of producing content during lockdown, and you guys are planning what possible business to spin off that.
Yeah, so prior to the COVID, he was just about to open a restaurant, which I wasn't going to be involved in. And then obviously when we started doing social media stuff over like a period of time, and I was doing all of his partnerships, and this is all just kind of like weekends, evenings, doing partnerships.
Oh wow, so you like management?
Yeah. I was technically his manager, kind of his therapist, his older brother. There's lots and lots of things.
Washed his hair.
Yeah, pretty much everything. And so I was doing all of that just in the evenings, weekends. And then so when we were actually doing the restaurant, Tom was like, "Do you want to get involved in the restaurant as well?" Because like this is kind of hand in hand with the social media following, with the restaurant, with the fact that they're like, this is going to be driving a lot of stuff.
And this is Strakers.
This is Strakers. Yeah, this is Strakers. So I was like, yeah, sounds great. And so we raised some money from some really good investors, and then I did my kind of contribution to the restaurant was more from like a commercial side of things, so like doing the numbers, ensuring that it's ran efficiently. From the social angle, like how do we like build out a great page, how do we build great content, how do we get personalities for the chefs, etc. Rather than like I had nothing to do with like the fit out or the day-to-day running of like front of house or back of house.
I was going to say, because like now going into restaurants, this is like really outside your knowledge and experience, if you will. Like,
and I had I don't want to be like, it's not something that, it's not that I'm not interested in it, it's just like I can't my brain can't go into another thing of like another element, because I just wouldn't be able to. I would just go wild.
Were you quite apprehensive about going into the restaurant? Or were you just kind of pretty fired up by it? Because
no, I love the concept. I loved it. I loved the idea of it, and I knew that how well it was going to do.
Yeah,
yeah, and I knew the numbers. I knew the numbers were good, and so I was really happy just to look at it from an operational perspective, like at the top part of the operation, and that is something that I have like weekly meetings with the general manager, where we just talk about like margins, like operational numbers, etc., etc. And I really enjoy it from that side, but it has to be light. It's pretty light touch. It's like a few hours a month, a few hours a week, a couple of hours a week. So
you and Tom at this point, you're obviously planning the restaurant to launch and doing a lot of stuff on the social side and the creative side, because you guys started to build out kind of a media function and all those other elements, and Tom's obviously making many series. And I guess for you guys in all the ventures you're looking at, was that just the kind of, I guess, the acquisition models for you?
Yeah, I mean, the media angle was an interesting one. That we built out a studio where the idea was that Tom was going to create all of his content out of it, and then we were going to get other chefs, and we were going to get them to build out content and get them to build a following, and we would essentially
a bit like what Mob did, I guess.
Yeah, kind of, but more from a professional chef angle rather than like home cooks, which is predominantly. Mob does have some chefs in it, but it's predominantly like good home cooks.
Well, their slogan is like food you can cook or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
And so, similar to that. And if I'm honest, we made a call pretty quickly that it wasn't a business that we wanted to build out, and it was more just where Tom was going to create his videos, and that was pretty much it. And for me, I was just kind of looking at the numbers side of it and just thinking about like how much effort it was going to be from a networking point of view and then building out all the different social media profiles, etc. So it didn't really get me going, to be honest. I knew after maybe a month of doing it that this wasn't really for us.
Media is hard, right? It's a different game.
Yeah, it's not really my wheelhouse, if I'm deadly honest. Yeah. Like, I can get involved in creative when it comes to like quite top line stuff and more ideation based. But like Tom's the implementer at the end of the day when we think about the social stuff. I feel like I can give pretty good advice from experience over the years, but this was going to involve me being quite a big implementer when it came to the creative side, and it's not
what you wanted.
No.
So this time, obviously, Tom's making content, and you're making content for obviously the restaurant and other outlets. But for you guys on the creative side, because you also opened up another restaurant, which I guess not many people probably know about.
So that's in Battersea Power Station. That wasn't too long ago, though. That was only about a year ago.
Fine.
And so that was, that's just a small, it's within Arcade in Battersea Power Station called Flatbread. And we essentially, our best-selling dish from Strakers is the flatbread. So we do chili butter mussel flatbread, which just is one of the greatest things of all time. And so it was about how we roll out that smaller concept, those concepts of flatbreads within a venue. And we're kind of, we are going to evolve that concept, I think, over the next few months into something that is more scalable and easier from a quality control perspective, because flatbreads, to get a great small flatbread with like really puffy up dough and exactly cooked is actually difficult.
Yeah.
And so we're changing the concept slightly. It still does well, the one we do about the power station, but we've got kind of a few ideas currently up the sleeve that that I think is probably 3 months away. But there's a really good opportunity, I think, to roll it out.
Yeah, interesting to hear about that. The you're kind of a lot of brands now, I think in 24, are really thinking about like, we need to make a lot of content to be at all successful. You guys have been at that game for quite a few years now, and it's kind of proven that it does work.
Yeah.
But what I think a lot of people don't realize is the amount of work that goes into the consistency, right, in order to make that happen. Can you just sort of explain to me how much work actually goes into producing the sheer amount of content you guys do, from the partnership stuff to the restaurant stuff to the personal brand stuff, etc.? Because I feel like everyone's obviously building profiles to push brand, and you founder led from a brand perspective, because I guess Trip is a little bit founder led in that way and that content side. But for you guys, it's worked, and it's working within the restaurant scene and also the food scene at the moment. But how much work really goes into that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of work. And look, I can't, again, I'm probably speaking more on behalf of Tom, but I see from a brain power perspective how much work gets into him just doing like video after video. Like some days he's doing like 8 videos, which doesn't sound like, oh, but you're kind of just, you're just cooking kind of thing. And it's like, no, but you're having to like give like the energy behind the camera, and then you know, like think of the things to say and etc. And you just see it like at the end of it, he's absolutely wrecked. Yeah. And so I used to give him a load of shit about when he missed like deadlines for certain things, which I would mainly do. I would know that I maybe got a couple of weeks to go and do it, but I always give him a deadline before because he's late on everything. And so, and I'd have to, sometimes I'm just like, okay, do you know what? Fair enough. Because it takes a huge amount out of you. And we have, like, at the moment, with All Things Butter, we have one of our marketing people, girl called Emma. She, like, I'd say 50% of her role is around, like, just getting great recipe content for socials for All Things Butter. And it's like, it's a real slog, like, to get good, because you get sent loads, but some of it you're like, nah, it's not quite right. And you've got to really ensure that what's coming is the stuff that you're putting out is stuff that you really like, you're proud to be on there, or and sometimes we have put some more like below par things on All Things Butter, and I'm like, you know what, next time it's like, doesn't matter how much work's gone into it, let's just park it.
A question for you that I think a lot of people who are brand side might have is, what do you think is more important right now, the consistency or the creative idea?
Consistency.
Really? Yeah, that's the kind of the biggest needle kind of mover, as opposed to like having the best ideas. I
think, look, there has to be a level that you hit from a quality perspective. Yeah. But I'm a massive advocate of the 80-20 rule when it comes to that, in particular when you want to be getting out a lot of content.
Just explain that rule.
So 80-20 is like 100% is obviously the best video you've ever made. 80% is like a good video, but that to get to 0 to 80 may take 2 days. Mm-hmm. To get from 80 to 100 can take 5, 6, 7 days, because those small, it's like charging a battery. It's like going from 0 to 80 is actually really, really quick. Yeah, because there's loads of, I don't know what the scientific terminology is, but there's essentially loads of opportunity within the battery that they can charge it. Yeah. But then actually to get from 80 to 20 takes significantly longer than it does actually to get from 0 to 80. Mm. I remember Elon Musk said something about it with the chargers. And for me, it's like, put out content at 80%. As long as there is like, you've hit the brief and you are happy with it, then from a consistency perspective, it's all about gaining momentum. This is purely on socials. Yeah. But just like, how you guys look at it for all things. Yeah, you have to we have to be doing like 3 videos a week. We have to. Tom has, like the series. Tom was like one of the first. I don't think he was the first, because everyone's done series before, but like one of the first to really see the. This is how All Things Butter started, right? It started by him building a series. And he did 28 butters in 30 days. And he gained like 1.5 million followers in 28 days. So it happened because he used to do it at a previous place that he worked, right? At the Dorchester. Yeah. So he did it there, and then he just wanted to make a series, and then... Well, he was just really good at quailling, because at the Dorchester, one of his roles at the Dorchester was, I think it was a burnt butter. Tom's probably going to tell me that this isn't the case. It wasn't a burnt butter, but I think it was a burnt butter and bread was like an entree that would go out. And Tom's, at one point, literally, his job was the quinella. So he would just quenelle on the plate, quenelle on the plate, quenelle on the plate for like hours and hours. And that's why he's so good at quenelling. And so consistency pays off again. And it wasn't it wasn't originally a series. It was just a video of him. He tells a different story. It's nearly the same, but from what I remember is that we were in the studio and he was meant to be doing a content day. I think he was pretty hungover, and he was meant to be making like a bigger dish, something which would take a couple of hours. Yeah. And he was like, it's wild garlic season. I'm just going to make a wild garlic butter and just have it on bread. And that's it. Because it's going to take me like 5 minutes to make. And he did the video. And that video got like 3.5, 4 million views. And at the time, I think he had like 150,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or 100,000 on TikTok. And that was by far his most viewed video. And so from that, I think he then did one more. And this wasn't the series. This was just 2 other. And
he was like, let's feed the beast.
Really, really well. And he was like, okay, like, let's see. I'm going to do now something.
There was no plans to start a butter brand at this point.
No.
You were literally just like...
No. I wish I could say that I was a genius and go on, let's do this and let's...
Are you making content for Tom's pages, or is this for the restaurant?
No, this is just Tom's pages. This is pre-restaurant. This is about 6 months before the restaurant opened. And so this is all in the studio, and Tom then he just goes to me. It's like, I'm going to do, because he got maybe 50,000 followers overnight from that one video. So he was like, all right, I'm going to do a video every day now for 30 days. And he missed maybe 2 or 3 days. Maybe it was 26 videos, but he did a lot of videos. And he went from like 150,000 followers to 750,000 followers on TikTok, on Instagram, 100,000 followers to 600,000 followers on TikTok in 30 days. And so then he just carried on doing it. But then there was then the balance of, okay, I am actually a professional chef who has worked in like Michelin kitchens. I was the head chef. It was like some big places like Mayfair, Notting Hill, etc. And so when we were opening the restaurant, there was a big worry that people just thought it was going to be a butter restaurant. And he was like, there ain't that much butter being on there, because it was more just capitalizing on a really great thing and people really enjoying the content that was being doing. So we then started trying to feed in like, we do like maybe a butter a week, but then we do like 1 or 2 videos, which was like him making like a Iberica pork loin or whatever, like more stuff, which was like his style has never been like super fancy anyway. It's just like great quality ingredients cooked really, really well with like great sauces, etc. And so,
what are you thinking at this point, though? Because this is like for the 5th time in your career where you're just seeing something explode in front of you.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you seem to always be in these situations.
I felt Trip was like a big career job for me.
Really?
Yeah, because
out of all of them, that was the...
Yeah, because I was like at a good seniority level. I was paid well, and I felt that the brand was like rocket shipping, and I was in the role which was essentially the growth. Like I looked after essentially e-commerce for Trip. That was my job role. Had a really great team, and so I was like, I could potentially build like international function, etc., and I've grown it from XYZ to XYZ, and so like this is a big career job. And so when we first kind of flirted the idea of the butter business, it was probably like in the summer. In the summer, so I'd been at Trip for maybe 6 months, and then I was just like, Tom, it's just not the right time. And Tom was like, well, I don't want to do it unless you're going to do it. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And then it got to January, as in a year and 2 months ago, and I said to him, I was like, I think we should maybe like flirt around like some buyers that I know from the supermarkets, find out more about the supply chain, understand a little bit more of the market, and then maybe let's see what happens. And so that was like January, and so I was obviously a Trip, but it was just kind of doing it on the side. And then it was like March time, and we got some really good feedback across the board. Plus we'd found a supply chain that we thought, basically a manufacturer who we thought like did an amazing product.
What did you think the opportunity in the market for it though was? Because obviously butter is like dominated by like a couple of big brands, right? Yeah,
but I think that I felt that there was also a bit of a shift from people with veganism kind of on, it's not on the decline, but it's on like the growth rate is nowhere near where they expected it to be.
Butter's going up as well.
Well, but butter was always going down for 20 years because of like real butter.
Yeah.
Because of margarine bases that came in, who essentially, there was like a big campaign in the 90s and 2000s, which was like butter essentially gives you heart disease and things like that. And it's like very high in saturated fat, etc. So buy flora and buy, can't believe it's not butter, etc. But I feel that in the last kind of 18 months, 24 months, I think the word diet is kind of moving away from like skinny bars and like stuff which are just like super low calorie but just insanely processed.
I was going to say, process is out, right?
Exactly. So now like diet is actually about like balance and eating the right things.
And real food. Exactly,
real food. And butter's like 2 ingredients and it's been around for 10,000 years. And butter,
like margarine must be like 20.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like if you look at like the back of, for instance, the largest margarine business, I don't want to make enemies here. I don't understand. I can't even pronounce about 6 of the ingredients. And there's lots of big campaigns around the fact of like, yeah, some of these kind of alternatives are better for the planet, etc. But I also feel that there's going to be a further shift into the impact of ultra processed food, and particularly with like children. And like we don't actually really know what it does to like the guts of like a child growing up from kind of whatever age to where we are now. Maybe now as a 34-year-old, slightly different. So I felt that the timing was kind of right for a challenger brand to come into the dairy industry, which has never been a challenger brand, to really kind of like fly the flag to get people back into the category, which have moved away from it into either plant-based diets or just going into plant-based alternatives like flora, not like flora, can't believe it's not butter, etc. And I also felt that there was like a big opportunity with kind of I think there's been a lot more kind of, the farmers have been under the microscope a lot more in the UK about like supporting British farming.
Yeah, with Clarkson's farm.
Yeah, like Clarkson's farm, for instance. Like you love him or hate him, like you can't deny what an amazing job he's done to really like highlight how difficult it is to be a farmer in this country, and that we should be trying to buy more local produce, supporting our farmers more. And so the stars just really like from all the parts I felt that needed to be there for a challenger brand, knowing that, look, in the day, the category is really tough to like get in there because Arla essentially dominate the entire thing, which is Anchor and Lurpak and Yarra Valley. So they own all 3. And so it's still, they dominate, like they completely dominate it. And I'm not saying that we are going to destroy Alex, we're definitely not. Like they're always going to be like the dominant force there, but felt that there was an opportunity for someone to come in, and the category is so humongous, as you can imagine, because it's butter. It's like 1.6 billion just in the UK, that just to have a little small piece of that pie and bring incremental people also into the category, there was a great opportunity. But also like eyes were wide open, that knowing that this is going to be,
because also you're doing this when like economically there's a lot going on. Like costs are going up in 2023.
Yeah,
like,
and dairy in particular. Dairy got killed because was that not a bit of a worry at this point, or were you just like
but I kind of prices go up, prices go down. We can make that work.
Yeah, I felt that. I definitely felt prices go down, and also because cream is a commodity price is tracked, and therefore you can actually see, like, although like Lurpak, for instance, do you know when it was like it had like cages around them, and everything like that. Like, it wasn't because they were, I mean, they most likely did profit on the prices increasing. But you look at the commodity price, which you can see online, anyone can see it. Like, it went in, like, through the roof. Like, absolutely through the roof of cream. And therefore, they're buying cream, and they pass it on to the consumer, because otherwise they'll just be losing money. And we will have to do the same, I'm sure, at some point, if it goes sky high. Or also, if it goes downward, we want to try and pass on that savings to the consumer. And so it was kind of a level playing field. Of course, Arla have more buying power. They have more scale, therefore they can always be more competitive from a price perspective. But because it's a low-cost product, you're never that far away.
Yeah.
Because it's not a product that's 50 quid and you're either 30 quid or 50 quid. It's like you're either 2 quid or 3 quid. So like it's the differentiation in price. And for us, we did feel that our product is, we feel that we have a superior product. We think that the process it's gone through, so we have a slightly different process to what is in like the mass market. So we twice churn the butter, which essentially means we take out more moisture, and therefore the product is a lot creamier. Yeah. So if you taste tested us again, you really be able to tell the difference from a creaminess perspective, and so we felt that we could kind of warrant being a slightly more premium product from a price point of view.
Yeah.
But we're not going to like the posh French, the kind of area which is like £5 a block.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely knew that it was going to be difficult, but also like,
did you think it was going to work early doors, or did you think it would be a bit of a stab in the dark?
I definitely didn't think that it was going to go as well as it did from day one.
Really?
No. Well, the initial idea was that we were going to try and sell a ton of butter. So a ton of butter is
how many
4,000 packs.
4,000 packs?
Yeah, 4,000 packs. So, 1,000 kilos, 4 blocks per kilo, because it's 250 grams. So yeah, but then someone wants 125. Say 5,000 packs. The idea was we were going to sell 5,000 packs of butter online in a month.
How were you going to sell butter online? With like
that is difficult.
Stuff?
It is difficult, but we have ice packs. We have it's a disaster, to be honest, and it's a real pain.
Because with all your experience at this
it's
point,
really tough.
Yeah, because I remember seeing this all launch, because I actually followed Tom like way before, like, you know, the All Things Butter stuff. I think it was from Mob Days. Yeah. I remember seeing a launch, and I remember being like, D2C butter, that is a headache.
Yeah.
Oh, now knowing knowing that you were at
but it's
like it's all these other places where these lessons probably would have been.
We're actually just about to go through a new iteration of packaging, because the packaging that I designed and did pretty quickly, just with a million other things going on, has been a bit of a disaster.
Right. But that must have been one of the hardest operational things.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. I think that I went into it so blind that it was almost quite good, because I was just like, of course we can do it. We'll work out a way of doing it. And so we have like insulated bags with ice packs boxed, and then it has to go 24-hour delivery. And then obviously operationally,
because it is doable, by the way,
warehouse
for the record, you can do it.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, but the problem is though, is that what I didn't think about was that we have an insulated bag which an ice pack goes in and 4 blocks of butter go in. But what I didn't quite anticipate was the ice pack is quite rigid with the butter, and butter's quite soft, and so the ice pack fucks up the butter. So
it's just a churn. The third churn's happening.
Most of it's like, if you have a perfectly flat ice pack, you're fine, but it isn't perfectly flat. So we've now just brought it in-house, our fulfillment in D2C, which is a lot easier. And also, when it was colder, we stopped doing the ice packs because we didn't need to, because it was cold outside, so therefore we didn't need it. We just have an insulated bag.
So when the sun comes out in London, you're actually a bit nervous.
Yeah, but we're trying. We've got a new iteration of packaging which thinks going to work. But we're not. We have a D2C element of the business. Yeah, but essentially we're a retail business. We're always going to be 90% retail.
So of the ton of butter you plan to sell on D2C,
yeah. So the plan was a ton of butter in D2C, and then we were going to go to retailers and say, look, with 2 of us, we just sold a ton of butter online. Do you want to stock us? That was kind of like my rough sales pitch. Obviously, there was a bit more detail into it.
Did that work?
Well, no, because we got the retail listing before we even launched. So we got Ocado were really, really keen on us.
Wait, before you even sold a block of butter?
Before we even sold a block of butter. So we actually ended up launching the business in October with 5 retailers and online.
Why? I think I know the answer to this. Like, why did that happen?
Well, I mean, how it happened was that we put out on Tom's Instagram the first render of the packet and saying, all things butter coming soon. And it went fucking crazy online.
In what way?
Like 100,000 likes, thousands and thousands of shares. And then we started getting DMs from buyers. And I'm like, shit. The ton idea is now gone out the window. And so
why did you do that? Was that like a test of like, was it just literally like...
I think there wasn't a huge... I mean, there was a little bit of strategy around the fact that we thought that we might start generating a little bit of like excitement.
Yeah, but...
we did it way too soon as well. Like we did this in like July and we didn't launch until October, which was a dreadful idea.
Because people were knocking on the door for it.
Yeah, people were knocking on the door. But it wasn't actually a dreadful idea from a buyer point of view, because you start the conversations in July and then you launch in October. Like, that is about the period. And quite often it's significantly longer than that.
Yeah. And I've been on this podcast, been talking to buyers for like 5 years.
Oh, yeah, exactly, So we started talking, and Ocado were just like really into it. And so we started talking to them. And then we had GoPuff were really interested in it.
Is that because of the social presence? Is that because of the product that it is? Is it just everything?
Yeah, the alignment of like the trend of people on moving to more like whole food, non-processed diet. No challenger brands in the butter category. It's stayed pretty stagnant for like their sales have stayed pretty stagnant for a while. Tom having an absolutely ridiculous social following. The packaging was like super standout. Like we kind of ticked a lot of boxes. And you'd imagine dairy buyers don't get a huge amount of like exciting innovation through the door. It's like they basically look after milk, cheese. Milk, cheese, and butter.
Yeah.
And all three of those, like milk, like you get pretty much nothing. Although like not I really like that milkshake brand. Can't think what it's called. It's got the cow logo. Really, really like that brand. So that's one. But I mean, it's like a milkshake brand.
Yeah.
That's about as far as it goes. And some buyers in big supermarkets, they just have butter and margarines. That's it.
So at this point, I don't know if you can share, but how big was the interest in terms of how much do people want?
Yeah, it's pretty big. We had a lot of.
You had to make more than a ton, right?
But
you had to make more than a ton of butter.
Oh yeah. We had to make a lot. I mean, we sold in 10 weeks. We sold 100,000 blocks of butter the first 10 weeks.
And how many blocks is a ton? 5,000.
5,000, yeah. So
20 tons.
20 tons, yeah. By the end of the year. So we launched in October. Then by the end of the year, we did 100,000 blocks, which was like phenomenal. But we got some amazing retail partners who were super like. They were really bought into the journey. Yeah. Like we had all the quick commerce businesses, so like GoPuff, Zap, Getir. Zap was actually the first people we ever spoke to.
Really?
Yeah. Zap, Getir, GoPuff, Gorillas. Then we had Ocado, Planet Organic, Modern Milkman, which is like
they're like massive, aren't they?
And Milk and More, who are the other one. So they're the two biggest milk rounds who also do it.
Like Milkman, basically. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's kind of like an app or website where you just get your milk and then you get like butter, bread, things like that dropped off. So we launched with like 9 retailers. I think in between, within say a 2-week period, I think we launched with 9 retailers.
Now you said like at the start of the podcast that like you were waiting for the moment where you could be an entrepreneur again.
Yeah.
I guess, after closing down your first business after leaving uni. But like, was there a moment where all this was happening where you were sitting back being like, it's happening? Like,
to be honest, no. And I still can't put myself in the position.
Because it feels like you've been not waiting for this forever. And
I know.
It seems very like emotionally driven, but like you've done so many things. You worked in so many brands that like have exploded and you've been kind of behind the scenes with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And doing that. And then all of a sudden, like the right alignment happens. Your wealth of experience is needed. You've got something that is new in the market, because like being a disruptive brand, everyone thinks they are one, but they're hard to come across because you've got to have the right idea, like you say, great product sales. Yeah. So like for you, have you ever just sat back and gone like, I'm doing the thing I wanted to do?
Honestly, no. And I think the reason why is that I'm scared of thinking too much about it and actually being an anticlimax.
Goldman syndrome.
Yeah, and so I just go with it, just like, and then. Me and Tom I think I was saying to you before, me and Tom went away last week to go and because we haven't really stopped since the restaurant, since the butter, since anything, to actually really take a step back. And I think that's probably the closest I've come to it, where we took a bit of a step back and we just kind of listed off some of the pretty like what Strakers restaurant revenue was last year.
Because the restaurant itself is success in a very hard market right now.
Oh yeah, it's the restaurant is insane. Like full every lunch and dinner,
amazing,
and 5-star review from the Telegraph, 4-star review from Giles Corran at the Times, 4-star standard, 5-star from Time Out. Like it's done incredibly well and it is there's always teething problems with restaurants and staff, etc., etc. But it's like it is insanely successful, the restaurant. And we've never really taken a step back and gone. And I actually, if I'm honest, I feel bad that I've never really like gone to Tom and been like, fucking well done, because that's just not what we like. We don't like pat each other on the back, to be honest. We're just always looking forward. And so we had this period where we had a little bit of that, and then we were just straight onto like, well, what should we do next? Like,
when you're away together.
Yeah. So we kind of, that's probably the first time we've had a little bit of self-reflection, but I don't know why I can't really put myself in. I just physically can't quite put myself in the mindset. Some
people, I kind of resonate with it in some ways. Like, sometimes it's hard to always like celebrate every small win and every small achievement. I mainly ask because it's like an incredible operation you guys are kind of building with everything, and you're entering in a market that no one's really entered in the way you have before.
Yeah.
And there are like, I think everyone will see All Things Butter, the restaurant, the brands you've been a part with before, and be like, oh, it's sunshine and rainbows for Toby. It probably definitely isn't, and even to get to this point is like, it's 12 years of like pure hard work, as your dad would say, which I think is super important.
Yeah.
But I guess what has been the biggest challenge with All Things Butter for you guys? Because I imagine it's quite a low margin business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of challenges from like, it's high volume. It's a hugely high volume, low margin business. Like, you can imagine how many blocks of butter are sold in the UK. I mean, it's an extortionate amount. Like, supply chain is tough because it's a short life product. And so you have to, especially from someone who has no experience in dairy or short life products, because every business that I've worked for is a ambient product. So Harry's, for instance, hasn't got a shelf life.
Yeah.
Away doesn't have a shelf life. Plants don't have a shelf life, you just got to water them. Trip is got like 2 years shelf life.
Yeah.
So that was probably if I take everything, that has been the trickiest thing to overcome is kind of getting my head around supply chain and operations, which is something that I've always worked in it from like a top line perspective, and to like really interested in like personally it's like unit economics and like how you can make small incremental improvements in the unit economics.
Yeah.
There's always been involved in, but not like that much like operationally involved, if that makes sense, like in the day to day. So that's probably been the most challenging thing thus far. But I think for us, like the biggest challenge we're going to have there's two. It's like one is cutting through a category that has not changed in 20, 30 years from a brand perspective and people's brand loyalty to other products. And that's with like more the salted and unsalted. Mm-hmm. And then two, with our flavour butters, is educating people actually how to use them. Because essentially, if someone just buys it because they just want to like try it on a piece of bread, people ain't going to repeat from just...
Because you've got 3 products at the moment, right?
No, so we've got 4. So we've got salted, unsalted, garlic and herb, chili butter.
Yeah.
We're actually just about to launch in like 3 weeks, cinnamon bun butter, which is you spread it on your toast or on a croissant, and it just basically tastes like cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then we've got some other flavours coming out. And so like salted and unsalted, it's like core part of business, like you've got to get that product right, but the flavors is really for us, it's like we want to drive incrementality into the category, and get people to cook more with butter. So the main objective of the business is like we want people to cook more with butter. Like every great restaurant in London that isn't obviously a vegan restaurant, most of them, their base is butter, and that's why you get like amazing richness in your food. And with our flavour butters, which is all around like convenience of people to use it rather than having to make your own flavours. So like it's a chili butter and you can put it in XYZ rather than get your butter, make a chili butter, then use it. So it's like ultimate convenience. Mm-hmm. We need to show people how to use it more. And that is, we're already seeing like improvements in our like rate of sale week on week from like the education we do through social media. Mm-hmm. But like, it's a category that essentially didn't, from a mainstream perspective, doesn't exist. So we're essentially creating a category. And if you're just getting people to use it to spread on their bread, like chili or garlic, they're not going to buy it again. They need to like see how much it elevates like a chicken breast, put a little knob of chili butter, baste your chicken breast at the end, then have it. It's like 10 times better than it would be if you had it just with oil.
Yeah.
Same with like your broccoli, just like melt a bit of chili butter on the broccoli right at the end. It's like fucking amazing. But these people, like the consumer doesn't know that. And so for us, it's a massive job for us over the next 12 to 18 months to like really educate people on how to use butter in more of their like day-to-day cooking.
Yeah. And is that really what the future looks like for you guys?
Well, we definitely, I suppose it's that's huge. Yes, there's like there's obviously for us is like day-to-day continue to try and build out the flavor butter category and to try and increase our sales of salted and unsalted across every mass retailer. So we've got another big retailer launching in about 6 weeks. Then we've got 2 other major retailers that are going to come in at the end of September. And then we've nearly got all the big retailers in, which will be amazing for the first year.
Yeah.
To go and launch in all of those.
Incredible.
So obviously UK is like a big opportunity for us and butter, flavor butter, etc. But like our kind of carrots are US because we've got loads of opportunity in the US. We've got lots of interest in the US. Mm-hmm. We'd have to set up supply chain out there and kind of pick up the same kind of ideation of supporting the farmers, getting the best possible produce from a US farm, trying to create the best possible product out there. Also feel from a cross-category perspective, there's quite a lot of opportunity within dairy just in general, whether it's cheese, whether it's yogurt. Feel that the brand kind of leans itself into like
the All Things brand.
Yeah, All Things brand, exactly. Because that's, as I said, that is what we're trademarked. We're All Things. And so we do think there's like cross-category opportunity there as well, but don't think about that too much because, well, I don't think about that too much because there's a lot still to do. Like, we still need to like continue building on the momentum that we've got so far. And like, I'm very...
Stay consistent, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very aware that like, we are in this like golden period and who knows how long this golden period will last until it's going to start getting tough, and then we've got to like do other things that's slightly different, etc., etc. So yeah,
I guess final question from me is what does it take to build a brand like All Things Butter?
What does it take? I think patience is probably the number one thing I would take from it. Is like in my early career, early life, I was so like motivated to be able to, unmotivated is maybe the wrong word. I was so like eager to start some sort of business, and I was like writing out potential business ideas. But actually, what I started learning kind of as my career went on is like just build up as much experience as you can in all different categories, etc., and give yourself the best possible opportunity for success for when that time does come of where you just think of the business that you want to put everything into it. You're really, really like you're set up the best you can. Because for me, it's like patience is not a word usually in my kind of vocabulary in the way that I work. Yeah. But I'm so happy that I waited until like 15 years essentially of like working to then get to the perfect point of where I'm like, this genuinely I feel like has got opportunity to be a humongous business. Yeah. And very much at the start of it, but without that patience and maybe jumping on some of these smaller businesses that I had an idea of before, I may never be here right now. And then this idea may never have happened. Yeah. So yeah.
There's maybe a world where that's true. But mate, congrats. I mean, thanks so much for giving me some time.
Thanks so much.
It's been amazing to find out about your career and what you've done. And yeah, I think in 12, 15 years, you've achieved a hell of a lot. And congrats to you and the team as well, because starting the brand you have in All Things Butter is not easy. And you guys are smashing it left, right and centre at the moment. So thanks for the time. Best of luck with the future. And I'm sure we'll check in for more, but appreciate your time, man.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Cheers.